Good morning and welcome to another book review by John Henry Sheridan. So I am an author, singer-songwriter, former music teacher, father, human being, and I'm in the process of writing my own autobiography, and so I'm reading a lot, and so doing book reviews is part of that. This is a book today called Living Untethered by Michael A. Singer. It's a New York Times best-selling author. I usually don't care about that type of thing, but it just happens to be that. So I read books, several books at one time. That's how I enjoy it. So I read, sometimes I finish a bunch at the same time, which is kind of weird. Anyway, so I just did a Gandhi review. If you want to check that out, Gandhi autobiography now, Living Untethered. This book was pretty easy read. The beginning was slightly, I don't know, a little bumpy because he takes a tone which is not condescending, but just assuming that you're still in your egoic monkey mind and kind of being dominated by that, which I would say is probably true for 99.9% of people, maybe a little less. And so it's cool, and I like that tone as he goes on because it just makes you laugh because you see yourself in it. I saw myself in it so many times, and it helps me to understand what he's offering. So he basically explains that, imagine, I'm going to put in my words, but imagine like you have a blank screen of a TV, and what that is the mind, right? And then whatever images appear on that TV, that is your experience of reality. What happens is we have what's called samskaras, that's the word he uses, which are essentially blocked energies. So when something good happens, a butterfly lands on our shoulder, we say, oh, that's so amazing, so beautiful. And we create an attachment called clinging. And then next time we go to that same place and the butterfly doesn't land, we feel actually a little disappointed. Or next time we go to a garden and a dragonfly is in our face buzzing around and we feel annoyed, right? So we compare to something that we preferred to something that's different. And in essence, we have some small degree of suffering. And then the opposite, but not quite the opposite, kind of the same thing is it's clinging and aversion. Aversion is, you go to that garden and there's a snake in the corner of this beautiful patch of flowers, and it freaks you out, and your heart pounds, and you feel like your life is at stake. And then now when you go to the garden, you're always looking for snakes, right? And you have this aversion energy block in you. So every time you go to the garden, you're looking for snakes and you're looking for butterflies. And when you see a snake, you feel terrified, or anything that looks like a snake, like a garden hose. And when you see a butterfly, you get happy. But what also means when you don't see a butterfly, you get disappointed. So this is a simple way of explaining that we live our lives based on our preferences, both aversions and clinging. And so we have that blank screen of our TV, right? And we put, this is kind of my way of saying it. He said, like, put boxes in the way of something. You could look at it that way, or you could put stickers on top of the TV screen. So that's my way of thinking it. So every time you look at the TV, no matter what you see, whether it's a beautiful scene or a chaotic scene, whatever it is, it's got your stickers on it. So you're always going to see the screen of your life, what's happening in your life, with the stickers that are stuck on your screen. You're not even going to know it. You're going to think it's part of the show. So he's explaining that these boxes or stickers that we put in front of the screen are behind the screen. They're in our reality, not in the reality that we're seeing before us. That we don't have to have those there, and we could see reality as it is. And then he offers some, he gets really deep into that point of seeing how we always want to see the world according to our preferences, and when we don't, we're disappointed or angry, or and then when it does go to our preferences, then we fall in love, because things match our preferences. But living by our preferences is like all the billions of years of universal history, like converging to match the preference of this one living entity for a tiny brief period of time. It makes no sense. So we can't expect the universe to conform to our preferences. So he offers three main ways to start allowing our samskaras to be released. And one is simply positive thinking, meaning, so you're sitting in traffic and you're really annoyed because you're going to be late or something, or you think you're going to be late. Instead of focusing on that and thinking about that, which would create more repressed energy, which would feed the aversion cycle, you could think, hey, I'm stuck in traffic. Gives me a chance to slow down, focus on my breathing, listen to the song I want to hear, and it just at the very least it avoids you from making things worse. Okay. Then the next idea is a mantra. So, I'm practicing Buddhist and I chant Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, and that would be a mantra that would work. And what it does is, but there are many others. You could choose, say, loving kindness. You could say loving kindness. You could choose Om Padme Mane Om, whichever that other different Buddhist one is. You could, or Hindu, Hindu one. You could, there's various things like love, say love over and over again. And what it does is it bypasses the thinking mind. So instead of that discursive mind feeding you all this negative stuff, you're just kind of like setting this more positively toned or vibrational current going through your mind to keep those other lower thoughts at bay or at a distance, and choosing, it's basically you're telling yourself, I'm choosing to stay in a positive zone. So those are two techniques. Positive thinking, change the thoughts to something more positive, or use a mantra, number two, to just kind of like keep the negative stuff at a distance and vibrate in a higher zone. And then the third one is sitting, is a sitting practice of meditation. And what he recommends pretty much all three, but he definitely recommends sitting and meditating. And there's no specific way to do it besides kind of being alert, back upright. You could relax, but not sleep. And basically, you sit, and in the empty space, you allow yourself to see what is inside of you. And the more we do it, the more we can see what's inside of us, and the more we can allow. When we're giving our body, mind time without pushing stuff into it, these are my aversions, these are my clinging preferences, then it just can be. And then slowly but surely things rise to the surface. So we could see, like when a lake or a pond is not moving, you could see into it, right? And then there's Shakti. There's life force energy pulsing from beneath you, from like maybe our first chakra. He didn't explain exactly, but it's coming from underneath us. There's this Shakti life force which wants to rise. And that life force is constantly having to navigate through all the blockages we place within ourselves. Our body, actually stored in our body. And it's kind of like a river with no obstructions, flows freely, beautifully, powerfully. A river with a lot of boulders or log jams or whatever else in the way is going to have trouble flowing and create different paths. And you're not going to want to really navigate a ship through there, right? So we want that clean flowing river. That's the idea within ourselves of Shakti. And it's always flowing. So it's like once you could unblock what's covering and getting in the way of the Shakti energy flow, then it just flows. And there's this like upward energy, which Yogananda calls ever new joy. It's just like this geyser of beautiful life force beyond our ego and personality. It's just there, and you naturally want to serve, and all you want to do is say thank you all the time. Just thank you for being alive, for the universe, for the experiences we have, without creating these very limiting ideas of how life has to be in order to be happy. You can't have that, and must have that. That's all gone. And it's just a flow of energy going. So that's what it's about, and it promises that it's possible. It doesn't sound possible, but he says it is, and he's got a big smile, so I'm guessing that maybe he knows what he's talking about. That's him. I haven't even listened to him talk or anything yet, just read the book, Living Untethered, Michael A. Singer. No, it makes sense. It makes sense to me. And I've been, I'm also reading Yogananda's autobiography of a yogi. At the same time, synchronistically, I didn't know they would merge, and he mentions Yogananda in there, which is pretty wild. And Yogananda says similar things. So, but this is, he doesn't use like scientific research per se, but it's a little bit from more of a scientific perspective. It's not, he doesn't use religious language much. He might make it a reference to it, like it's similar to this, but he just kind of goes straight forward from just sort of ordinary language. Anyway, that's all for today. Hope you enjoy reading it if you get a chance, and keep reading, keep smiling, keep breathing.